Well, good afternoon. It's Friday once again, and I'm back in the Capitol. If you were watching last week, I did that from home because we kind of had there was a nothing day here. But it is Friday. It is week 10 of being here in the Capitol as your state representative. And so, okay, I promise I always try to keep these short, and then I end up going on long, so I swear I'm going to keep it short. I have to tell you about something pretty amazing that just happened. Okay, has nothing to do with this building, but it has everything to do with this building. And if I could have him in here as a guest on this right now, I would, but he's a little busy. So Representative Carl Wilson, who is the deputy leader of the House Republicans, and is also and I mean this with respect, he's a retread representative in that he was a state representative back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He is from the Grants Pass area, and so he came back this year. And so he's a freshman, but not really a freshman. Anyway, he is a fellow motorcycle enthusiast, as I am. And he left a little while ago, about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago maybe, to go back to his house that he's living in here in the Salem area while he's in session. He took his car home to get his motorcycle to ride it back to the Capitol to appear in front of his education committee this afternoon, and then he was going to ride his motorcycle all the way back to Grants Pass for the weekend. So a few minutes ago, I'm checking my status on Facebook, and I see a picture, and it's a motorcycle lying practically upside down with its front end missing and cars scattered around, parts and junk all over the place. And I look, and it's posted by Carl Wilson, and it says, you know, I survived. And I went, what? And so I got on the phone and I called him, and he answered. I thought maybe I was, get his answer machine and just say, I hope you're okay. And he said, oh yeah, I'm just coming back to the Capitol right now. You have to go look at the picture. If you're not on my Facebook page, go to Bill Post for Oregon on Facebook and look at it, or go to Carl Wilson's Facebook page and look at it. He was hit. A lady apparently thought her brake was her gas, or her gas was her brake, and went straight through a light, shearing the light pole, which made her just clip him basically, and he was just sitting at the light on his motorcycle, and it took out the whole front end of his motorcycle, and only by the grace of God was he not mutilated by the car. The car was going about 35 miles an hour, he said. He got off the bike, walked over to the curb, sat down, and snapped the photograph that you'll see on my Facebook page, and he is now here, right now as I speak, over in his office. I went over and sat with him. How do you express words for this other than to praise God? He has more work for Carl Wilson to do. That's dedication. He came back here after having a motorcycle wreck so that he could appear in his education committee this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I think I probably would have been able to expend excuse from that one, but not Carl Wilson. Carl Wilson is a man's man. Well, okay. So when I say my life is your state representative, my life's not quite like that. Now, I will tell you this. My motorcycle is parked downstairs in the garage, and I'm just a wee bit nervous about getting on it this afternoon. I hope there's not something in the air today. I hope I get home safely tonight. So if you read about me tomorrow in the newspaper, you'll know. Anyway, I can't believe Carl. What an amazing guy. Whew. All right, let me run a couple of things by you. So we're in week 10, and what's interesting about this week in particular, just in case you're not a junkie who hangs around in the Capitol all the time, there's this mad scramble going on all week, but especially today. Now, I'm recording this at 2:30 in the afternoon. At 5 o'clock today, it's the deadline for any bill in its original chamber, so either in the House or the Senate, but at 5 p.m. today, it's the deadline for the committee chairman to assign it to a work session. So let me take you through real quick a bill. So what happens is a bill goes to, I'll use my committee for an example, Judiciary Committee. And the chairman, who is chairman, is Representative Jeff Barker. He determines, bills, where they're going to go. Are they going to But the process is they get a hearing first. So it'll say public hearing on House Bill 3333. And the hearing is when the people come and testify, and we hear all the witnesses and the department agents and the whatever it might be that's in favor or opposed to that bill. Then what happens is it gets scheduled for what's called a work session. And the work session is sort of a glorified way of saying that's when we're going to vote on it in the committee. Now, you can still hear testimony, and people can still come and publicly testify on the bill or against the bill or whatever. But for the most part, what it is now we're ready to go ahead and vote on it. And then, of course, you know, if it passes out of the committee, it goes on to the House floor or the Senate floor, depending on which building you're in. So it's the deadline today at 5 o'clock for all bills to be given a work session date. Now, that doesn't mean it had to be today, the work session, but it had to be scheduled for a work session sometime before this session is through. So it had to be assigned a date for a work session. And so everybody's scrambling around the building and, you know, trying to make sure, hey, is my bill going to get a work session? Is my bill going to get a... So it's been kind of fun ambling around the building here today because I don't have any committees today, so I kind of have some extra time, some free time, and so I've been reading bills and signing letters and doing other things. But one of the things I've been doing is kind of going around and listening to people madly scrambling, Chairman Smith or whatever, you know, is my bill going to get a work session? Because if they don't get a work session today, they're dead. It's over. So just so you know, if you had a bill that you were concerned about, if you go to the OLIS system, O-L-I-S, just type it in Google, OLIS, that's the state legislative system where you can track every bill, every committee, every hearing, every session, everything. You could look up your bill, just type in, you know, HB or SB, whatever number it is, and then you can find out. And if it doesn't say scheduled for work session on X date, that bill's dead. It's not going anywhere. Now, 5 o'clock again tonight is the deadline. So after 5 o'clock Friday night, you can look at it, and if it doesn't say work session, then that bill's dead. So there you go. That's kind of how it works here. Just to get you an update on where my bills are. Now, you know, I know people are making fun of me saying, hey, I thought you were no bills bill. I have 4 total bills that I am the chief sponsor, meaning I wrote them. They're my bills. I've co-sponsored, meaning I've signed on to other people's bills, about 25 or 30 bills. I don't count those, and I'll tell you why, because for me, they're kind of like a pre-vote. If somebody comes to me with a bill and they say, you know, what do you think, you know, would you be, you know, willing to co-sponsor this? For me, I'm sort of casting a vote already, saying, yeah, of course, I support what you're after, and you bet I'll put my name on there. And of course, I'm going to vote yes, you know, if it makes it to the House floor. But when you're the chief sponsor, that means it's your bill. It's yours. So I did 4. So let me run through them again real quick in case you don't know or you've forgotten. House Bill 2969 was my cigar shop bill. It was to allow eating and drinking in the cigar shops. Well, it passed out of the House. It's now over in the Senate in the Business Committee, and I've been told that it is going to move forward and have a work session soon, and hopefully it will pass out of the Senate and then goes to the governor's desk to be signed into law. Then my second one is, I believe it's 3501. That one I killed, and I'll get back to that in a minute, so just hold that thought. But that was a CHL reciprocity bill. I actually killed that bill, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The third bill that I had was 3101, and that was the one that would prevent collection agencies from going after you if you were involved in an accident and it wasn't your fault, and you can't pay your bills yet because you're still waiting for the trial to get over with. It's a short version of it. It was to help people who have been in tragic situations like that. Well, that bill was not scheduled for a work session. The chair came to me and told me there's some bugs that need to be ironed out, and what I want is for you, Representative Post, to meet with some people and iron out some details over the interim while we're out of session. And she said next February when we do the short session, I'm going to run it. So that's the 3. And then the fourth one, going back to number 2, my fourth one is House Bill 3528, which is it's a countermeasure to Senate Bill 941 about universal background checks. Oh, I'm sorry, 5th bill. The 5th bill is, remember I said my CHL reciprocity, I killed that one? Well, what happened was Representative Cliff Bentz had a better written version of the same thing, And what I did was I wrote an amendment to it to clear it up even better. And because I'm on the House Judiciary Committee, which is where it would go, I asked Representative Bentz if I could take that bill from him, and he said absolutely. So he took his name off, and I put my name on, and it's now my bill. And the good news is we're going to hear it next week in the House Judiciary Committee, and I think we have the votes. I feel pretty good. I've talked to everybody on the committee, and then if that happens, then it'll go to the House floor for a vote. And I have to tell you, I've been told it's been 6 or 7 sessions that CHL reciprocity has been attempted to be passed in this building, and it's not passed. Hopefully, we're going to get one through. Meaning, if you have a concealed handgun license and you live in another state and you want to carry in Oregon, we would recognize that. Doesn't that seem to be common sense? It does to me. So I'll tell you more about that hopefully next week, because I'll have news on that. So there's my 5 bills, one of which I've killed, so I'm down to 4 bills. One got killed by the chairman, so I'm down to 3 bills. Yeah, and that's it. That's where we're at. Okay, well, that's sort of a brief look at my week this week, week 10 here in the state legislature. And I appreciate you. I thank you for the time you take to watch this, and I hope it's a little entertaining and a little worthwhile, and I hope that you learn a little bit from it. And we'll do it again next week, and I hope that you have a fantastic weekend.